We're here today with the top lender in the Denver metro area, and I believe nationally very well ranked as well, right?
Yes.
This is Nicole Rueth. I'm excited to be with her. I'm Heather O'Leary with eXp Realty, and we're going to chat about the options you have when you are looking to buy a home and you have one to sell also, because that's really complicated sometimes. So
It can be.
yeah,
It can be.
but that's why we're here.
That is why
that's
we're
what
here.
we do.
Yes.
I love doing it.
Simplify the complicated.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Let's start with the scenario that this is probably the easiest possible scenario. You have a home to sell, and you hope to buy before you sell.
Yes.
Let's start with that one.
Yes.
And if you have options as far as the lending goes, let me know. And then I have, of course, some things we can do, hopefully on the making offers realtor side too.
Yes. So when you're looking to buy, today is an interesting time because it's a buyer's market, because there's more inventory than we've seen in over a decade, and yet the right home's not on the market. That's what I hear all the time.
Yeah.
There's nothing to buy. I'm like, what do you mean there's nothing to buy? We have as much inventory as 2011.
Yeah.
There's nothing to buy means my home's not on the market.
Right.
And that's okay. And what happens though is because we have so much inventory, it means that days on market is typically longer than people expect. It doesn't mean your house is going to sit longer. If you price it right and stage it right, it's very possible to get multiple offers today, but not always. So if you're looking for that right home, you want the lifestyle home, you want the right school district home, you want the backups to a trail kind of home, you want that perfect home, then you have to make some level of sacrifice, because more than likely you're going to want to buy before you sell your home. And that's the circumstances of today's market. So if you want to do that, then I have to assess, what does your current home look like? And that gives me a roadmap of what my options are. Right? So if your current home is debt-free, well, now I have more options than if your current home is maxed out.
Right.
If your current home loan to value is, say, 90, 95%, I have fewer options. But if you've got equity anywhere from 0 to, well, let's just say 75% loan to value, meaning you have a minimum of 25% equity, then I've got a number of programs that can sort of cloud or hide that debt from your debt to income ratio, which makes it so that you can afford the next home. You're still carrying both homes, but you can qualify for the next home.
Okay, so let's talk numbers for just a second. Let's say, so you're talking about loan to value ratio on the departing residence.
Yes.
And then you'd have to carry the mortgage on both homes. So then we're talking debt to income ratios, right? So how does the debt to income ratio, how is that affected by having both homes against your debt?
So the easiest straight line solution, if I want to go buy a home before I sell a home, let's just say you make $240,000 a year,
Okay.
which is a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? But let's just say I'm just choosing a number that's easy math, because 240 is $20,000 a month. So
Okay.
I'm just getting to an easy number.
Perfect.
So you make $240, that's $20,000 a month. So I can use, typically a lender will max you out at a 50% debt to income ratio with all of your debts.
Okay.
So that means if you make $20,000 a month, you have $10,000 a month to spend on debt. Now your current home might be $4,000 a month. You might have a car payment, some credit card debt, some small other things. So maybe your total debt load today is $5,000. But I could spend 10. So that means I still have 5 that I could go buy another home. And if my new home fits within that budget, then it's easy. Then I have some money in savings, I use it as a down payment, I can afford both homes, and we're off and running.
Okay.
It's when you want to buy a house that's, say, $7,000 a month, but I only have a buffer for 5.
Right.
Now I've got to figure out a way to
Okay.
disregard the current mortgage payment.
Okay, and one of the ways, of course, is, and this used to be very uncommon, especially in the last 5 or 6 years, is making a contingent offer.
Absolutely.
However, it's really common right now for people to make contingent offers. And honestly, if you prepare really well by talking with me in advance and say, I want to sell my house, but I'm not going to sell until I find the home I want to live in,
Yes.
which is what people say all the time. I'm not moving until I find that perfect house for me. You mentioned that earlier. okay, that's fine. Let's get completely ready to go. All I have to do is then press click. We're live, active on the market. And we're not going to do that until you find that home you love. Then I'm going to have a really great conversation with that listing agent and say, we're making a great offer. These are very strong buyers. They're working with my preferred lender. And as soon as we get their property sold, contingent, then we will purchase this next property. We'll purchase your home. And so that's very common right now. I think it can happen.
It can. Now, the listing agent on the home that they want to buy will typically want to see their home on the market.
So we'll push click. Let's start.
And they'll also probably want to see an aggressive pricing strategy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when you're going in contingent, you just have to know, and you know this better than me because you do the negotiations, I don't, that you have to, there's typically something, if you want something, you have to give something up.
Yeah.
And there's always that teeter-totter of negotiating. Right, so if I want a contingent offer, I'm willing to go lower on my house to sell it faster. Maybe I'm willing to meet full price on the offer that you're making, or whatever it is that you determine based on the home that you're purchasing and the home that is being sold.
Well, and I've had that conversation with a lot of clients, especially when it comes to selling lower than you want to sell for, which is a conversation that, frankly, if your realtor isn't having that conversation, they're probably avoiding, and days on market are very long, and that's not good for anybody.
It's good to have that up front. You're right.
And if I have that conversation right away and say, hey, before we even start down this path of I want to move, let's talk about what you can reasonably get for your home and probably multiply that by 0.95 at this point, especially that it's December, 2025 right now. Who knows what will happen going into spring? Hopefully prices will continue to increase. But if you're selling and buying in the same market, my conversation with people is, okay, you might give a bit of a discount on the home you're selling, but maybe you'll get some seller concessions and help buy down the interest rate. So that's my strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk through the next option.
Yep.
So that's the buy before you sell option. What about if a person wants to buy before they sell, but they don't want to list their home yet? Can we talk about bridge loans and that kind of thing?
And there's so many.
Okay.
There's so many options.
Okay.
So a lot of times people will shut down and go, well, I don't want to carry two mortgages.
Yeah.
And that's a real deal. Like, you got to think about that, right?
Yeah.
But you also can think about the timing, and this is where your negotiating comes in, and I know how strategic you are when you're talking, right, to your buyers and sellers. And so if you're using and capitalizing some of the real estate things with extended closing dates or rent backs, this is where it all flows through to where you might not have to carry two mortgages for very long. Because remember, on a loan, if I'm buying a home and I buy it at the beginning of the month, say we close January 5th, that would be an extremely fast closing, but let's just say we close January 5th, then you obviously won't have a January payment, you won't have a February payment, so your first payment will be March.
Sure.
So if you're putting your house on the market at the same time that you're closing, you might be able to stretch that out to 60 days where you don't have two mortgage payments because you won't have started your new mortgage payment. But let's just say you don't think your house will even sell within 60 days. You're not ready to put it on the market. You want to put it on the market after you leave because you want to vacate the home, stage the home, do some repairs to the home, whatever that might be.
Or something about the finances with your debt to income ratio
Or you
or
don't
the
qualify with
equity
both homes.
doesn't work.
Yes.
Yep. So this is another option that's actually, I think, super useful.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have a range of options, everything from super inexpensive. I've got an option that is just simply a contract offer on your existing home. And it's by a third-party company. They have no intention. They don't want to buy your home, but they will give us a non-contingent contract offer that closes in 6 months. And then what will happen is then you can go put your house on the market, on the open market, and sell your home the normal way. But because I have a fully executed no contingent offer, I can exclude that debt from your debt to income ratio.
I did not know that that's how you guys were doing it until just now.
Yes.
This is kind of why I wanted to interview her, because this is magic. It's not magic,
Yes.
obviously, but it kind of is.
Yes.
I'm just going to repeat this. Did you get that? Okay, so you get an offer on your current home. It's probably not a great offer, to be quite honest, but because that home is now under contract,
Yes.
you can exclude that debt from your debt to income ratio.
And it specifically has to be a contract offer with no contingencies. So no
no-
loan
okay.
availability, no appraisal.
Okay.
So this
Which is why I
third-party
use this company.
Yes, they have no intention. They don't want to buy your home. But if it goes 6 months and they have to buy your home, they do buy it for a discounted price, and then you continue to sell it on the open market, and you get the balance of the money.
Of course.
But it's just,
so then
it's part of the process.
buy another house, and then we go ahead and list their property for sale as if that other contract fell apart.
Yes.
And then they get the appropriate market value for their home.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it. Let's do that. Can we do that a lot?
We actually do that a lot.
I want to do that.
But now that situation is it's the least expensive option.
Okay.
But it leaves you with 2 mortgage payments.
How expensive are we talking?
Like $2,500.
Really?
Really inexpensive.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Because I know bridge loans tend to be a little bit more pricey.
Bridge loans are a little bit more expensive. So now a bridge loan, let's define that.
Yep.
A bridge loan is, I don't need to exclude the debt from my debt to income ratio. I can qualify with both mortgages. I need the equity out of my home to put as a down payment. So a bridge loan, so people often think about a home equity line of credit of accessing the equity that they have in the existing home.
Right.
Now you can't get a HELOC or a home equity line of credit if your home is listed. Because once it's listed, the bank that's doing the HELOC knows they're not going to get the interest long-term on that mortgage. And so they keep HELOCs super cheap. In fact, they're free to get. But so they're not going to give you a free loan if they're not going to make the interest on the long term. That's where they make their money.
Okay.
And so they're not going to give you a HELOC. They're going to say, we don't do bridge loans because your home's already listed. So you have to get a bridge loan. Bridge loan's going to cost a couple points up front because they know they're not going to get their interest on the long run. So it'll be a couple points, maybe it's no interest for 6 months or 12 months, it depends on the bridge loan, and then it'll have some sort of balloon payment. Now, bridge loans are great, except for the fact that you do have your existing home mortgage, you do have the new home mortgage, and sometimes you have a bridge loan payment. It depends on how long it goes without payments. So that's a bridge loan. And you could also use a HELOC in that circumstance, like especially if you have a HELOC already. Right. The other circumstance is the buy before you sell programs, which will put a contract offer on your home and tap into the equity, pulling the equity out so that you can put a down payment on the next one. And as another option, they'll also pay off your existing mortgage. So they have a stair step of options where it's just a contract with the equity pullout, and a contract equity pullout, and a payoff of the current mortgage. So then in that case, now that's your most expensive. That's like your Cadillac.
Yeah.
That's your Cadillac of the buy before you sell. Excuse me. A Cadillac of the buy before you sell, and that will actually remove that debt from not only your debt to income ratio, but from your budget. And so now I don't have that debt. I can go and move into the new home, and then they will ask that you sell that home within 6 months. And if you don't, they typically have an extension with a cost associated with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is why we want to actually talk with every person individually, because there's so many options. It's like a menu of choices.
It is.
It is.
And I usually start and I say, look, I've got from the smallest option to the largest option. I'm going to start with the least expensive option first for you, because everybody wants to save money.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go, but at some point you pay in either money or stress or time. And so you have to choose.
Well, that's
and
what
so
I was
we
thinking
have solutions
too.
with
Yeah,
everything.
convenience is actually worth something, especially when you have a family that 2 working adults, let's say, they're busy, they have kids, maybe activities, all the stuff. You want to go ride their mountain bikes like I do.
Right.
We want to make
get out of the home.
We want to make it as easy as possible for all of the clients. So definitely sit down and chat with us. I'm going to throw a little bit of a twist in here, and we're not going to go into this in detail because I did learn this whole strategy from Nicole Rueth. But there's also a lot of benefit to you as a family, to your future, to not sell that property. And even though I don't really benefit from suggesting this to you, in fact, I had a client that told me that recently. They're like, you're not making any money from helping me decide to not sell. I'm like, yep, that's true. Do you want to explain just briefly about how you encourage people to build wealth in real estate and how this buying and selling could maybe not be the best idea?
Not every home makes a great rental,
Okay.
right? I do start out with that.
Okay.
But I do also love the opportunity that a lot of people have, especially when they have locked in low interest rates and an abundance of equity.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are in a position where maybe they have, we'll take my mom's house, for example, because it's a brilliant, she's looking at selling a $400,000 home in Florida at a 2.75 interest rate. Her total mortgage payment for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath is under $2,000.
Oh my.
Now, I can rent that home out at probably closer to $3,000, $3,200. Or we can take the equity out of the home and sell it and put it into a new home. She's moving here to Colorado.
Okay.
Now, a lot of those conversations we're having. Now, some people will say, I have no desire to be a landlord.
Yep.
I'm good with that. That's fine.
I think I've had 3 different clients this year who said, nope, not doing it.
And
Like, that's fine. We'll buy and sell.
It's good to know. Here are all the asset classes you can invest in. I choose to not participate in that asset class. Right? It's it's cryptocurrency, it's gold and silver, it's the stock market, it's real estate.
Yep.
It's all options.
Yep.
The option that real estate gives you, especially at a low interest rate, is you have to look at what's the market rents. Or can I subdivide that home? Is it anywhere near a college? Is it anywhere near a hospital? Can I rent it out by the room? Can I rent it out short-term rentals or mid-term rentals versus long-term rentals? Can I rent out the basement separate from the upstairs? Like, there are ways to maximize income potential on a home that somebody might not think about, where they're like, well, I'll only break even. I'm like, but if you split it up because you're right next to the university. My daughter owns a home. It's a 5-bedroom home, but it's a tiny home. It's like 1,350 square feet, but it's 5 bedrooms. She rents them out at $1,000 a room.
Oh my gosh.
You'll never get that for a
my
1,300 square foot home.
Yeah.
$5,000, but it really depends on where it's situated. So for that reason, I like to look at it. Now, some homes, like they've got $1 million home, an $800,000 home, and they have $600,000 equity in it, even if it's a 200.75 interest rate on a $200,000 loan, maybe the rent that they can get isn't great enough to make it, to leave all that equity in there. They can take that equity, their stock market, their stockbroker is doing better. Like, there are so many things that I talk about when I talk about this with somebody, but it shouldn't be ignored. It should be touched on and then moved on.
Yeah.
Should
I rent? Should I sell my departing residence, basically? And I had a client recently who looked at me and they're like, Heather, he was a spreadsheet guy. You know me, I'm a spreadsheet girl. So we sat down and I said, you're missing something on here. You're missing the paying down your equity that the renter is doing. And so when we added that in there, he's like, oh, well, I'm barely breaking even the first couple of years. This is going to be hard for me and my family, especially with affording this new mortgage. And I said, okay, but I know that your long-term goal, and that's what we start with, that's what we all start with. What do you want, right, in life? Your long-term goal is to afford that mountain house someday. So what if you keep this house for, 5 to 7 years, and now all of a sudden it's worth closer to $1 million. Now you can sell it and buy that mountain house when your kids graduate college. So we did it.
You've been able to deduct the depreciation. You've been able to write off the interest and the taxes. You've been able to have somebody else pay down your principal. Yeah, you're growing equity in a different asset class. You're getting diversification from the stock market. And you have a goal for that home. So Nicole and I would really love to sit down and talk about your personal situation, because obviously there are so many options, and it really just depends on what you want, first of all, and of course what you're comfortable with. So we can make that happen for you. Let me know if you want to chat with me. Schedule on my Linktree or reach out to Nicole. I'll link her info here as well. Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, have a good day.